Can I do the video from up here? Am I in the frame? Am I in the frame? Ugh. Let me ask you a question. Well, I gotta introduce myself. I'm Sam. Turn to somebody next to you and say, that's Sam. Sam. Have you ever noticed the way most adults greet each other? You know how they talk to each other when they see them. It's like, what's up, whatever. It's almost the same every single time. It's a handshake, an introduction, and then this question, the infamous question. So what do you do? What do you do? What kind of question is that? I promise you it's a formula, though. I want you to pay attention next time you're with your parents or small group leaders or teachers or adults or your friends or aunties, uncles, cousins, or dog with another adult. Trust me, it's gonna go the exact same way. What do you do? What do you do? You know what's funny? I actually love answering that question, I'll be honest about it. I love when people ask me what I do because when I tell them that I work with middle schoolers, their reactions are amazing. They're usually like, oh, you must have lost your mind. Or, bless your heart. Or, you're crazy. That's pretty much what they're saying, right? And to be honest, I'm a little bit crazy because middle schoolers are wild. I'll tell you a story. I went on a camping trip and it was my time to kind of overlook them and to make sure they were okay. And I said, here's the deal, lights out at 10 p.m., nobody moves. We're all going to sleep. If anybody wakes up, you're in trouble. Well, I go to sleep, I lay down, I check the perimeter, I make sure everybody's down. And all I remember is waking up at 5 a.m. to toothpaste all over my face. I immediately knew what had happened, and I realized in that moment that consequences needed to take place. Everybody up! Everybody up! Who did it? Who did it? Rat them out now, or you're all in trouble. Nobody ratted anybody out. I said, okay, everybody outside. It's 5:30 a.m., and I made them do 100 push-ups. Now, they only made it to 10, but I waited, and one person got to 20, but they learned to never put toothpaste on my face again. All I'm saying is middle schoolers are crazy, so yes, it's most definitely fun and exciting to work with you guys and even a little bit unpredictable at times. But you know what? I don't care what anyone else says. I love it. I really do. Now, you don't need me to tell you that not every adult in the world feels the same way, right? Unfortunately, the majority of the adults in the world don't always have the highest opinions of you guys, middle schoolers. While all the adults in this room think you're amazing, right? I know they do. Funny, smart, and full of potential. Sometimes other adults see you as lazy, oh my gosh, disrespectful, entitled, immature, self-centered, and honestly a little scary. What? No, I didn't say it. I guess I did say it. Some of you probably hear that and feel frustrated, right? Doesn't seem fair. Those grown-ups who don't even know you underestimate you. Honestly, it's annoying, and I would be angry about it too, because you don't know me. You hadn't taken time out of your schedule to figure me out. But others of you hear that and are thinking, I get it. I see why they would say that about us. I mean, you walk the halls of your school every day. You see the students treat the teachers a certain way, bus drivers, and even folks in the lunchroom, you know, the ones serving you food. You hear teenagers talk in the mall and at the back of the bus. And because of that, you can see how adults might come to the conclusion that folks your age might be a little wow. But even so, it's still frustrating to get lumped in to that category because you try so hard not to be that way. And honestly, what adds to your frustration is the fact that sometimes adults act the same way, right? They be crazy too. I know I'm crazy, but you don't need to tell me that. I already accept it. But some of you out there, you know, teachers, whatever, I'm not gonna call nobody out. You think they're crazy, all crazy. They say that students are lazy, disrespectful, entitled, self-centered, and all that. But then they go out and act the same way. I know you've seen it. When you're riding shotgun, ooh, you know what that's about. Right seat in the minivan and see adults not being so nice to each other. Or when the dad at the sporting event can't stop yelling at the ref. It wasn't him. Ref, are you gonna call something? Did you come to work today or? You know what I'm talking about. Sometimes they use some words that I can't repeat. Or when the lady in front of you at Target or Walmart is yelling at the cashier because she won't accept her coupon that expired 20 years ago. And the worst part about it is that adults somehow seem to get away with it. It's like if your teacher caught you giving some of those hand gestures to kids in the hallway, you'd end up in detention or suspended. If you screamed at the ref during a football game, your coach would pull you right off the field. If you yelled at the cashier at Target or Walmart or Kroger or Ingles, if Ingles is still around, your parents would ground you immediately. As a middle schooler, it's a frustrating thing when the adults in your life underestimate you, right? I know you believe that. Even though other students in your world may deserve some of those judgments, you don't. And it doesn't seem fair that the very same grown-ups who underestimate and assume things about you get away with doing and saying so much worse. So here's the question. What do you do? Just throw your hands up in frustration? Just give up trying to be good if everyone's going to assume you're already bad? No, that's not what you do. Listen. Stick with me. Because believe it or not, I've got an answer that I think will help us all when it comes to being underestimated. You know who could understand the pain and frustration of being underestimated? Paul and Timothy. That's right, we're going into the Bible, we're going into the Word, we're opening up Scripture. Don't tune out, tune in. This is the most important part. That's right, two huge Christian leaders in the Christian faith and major players in the Bible knew exactly how you as a middle schooler might feel right now. Paul and Timothy, that's right. They worked together to spread the message of Jesus after his death and resurrection. Now, because Paul was older and wiser, he wrote letters to his young friend, Timothy. You know, you got some friends that are younger than you. Paul was older than Timothy. He wrote letters down to his homie. Paul wanted to use these letters to help Timothy as he was experiencing some of the very same judgments you feel because of your age. And what I love about this letter we're about to read is that Paul didn't just tell Timothy to get over it. No. Instead, Paul acknowledged that people around him were acting poorly, bad, horrible. He said they was whack. People were teaching things that just weren't true. But Paul challenged Timothy to stay focused on what was true. No matter what anyone else was doing, Paul wanted Timothy to choose a different way. Here's what Paul wrote. Where is it? It's over there. My phone. Timothy, guard what has been entrusted to your care. Turn away from godless chatter and the opposing ideas of what is falsely called knowledge. Deep, somebody say deep. Listen, you can't choose how other people behave. You can't decide what they think about you or how they treat you. Are you listening to me? Do you hear me? You can't control if someone gossips about you. You can't pick who is on your team with you. You can't control what other people think or do or say. Try as you might, you can't even control the way adults might underestimate you. But you know what you can control? Yourself. You can control the way you respond. That's essentially what Paul was encouraging Timothy to do here. Timothy had been trusted with a big job, huge, to spread the message of Jesus to others. In other words, Timothy was responsible for the people he was leading, so he had to live in a way that showed he took that responsibility seriously. So Paul encouraged Timothy to worry about himself. Yeah, that was it. Worry about you. Do you, boo. He encouraged him to focus on his own actions, no matter what was going on around him. Instead of behaving like others and giving in to godless chatter, the useless or untrue teaching that isn't helpful and doesn't build people up. Paul wanted Timothy to focus on controlling his own actions. Because here's what Paul also knew. Don't miss this. This is big. Big statement. Distractions were always going to be there. In Timothy's life and in our lives, there's always going to be something that threatens to pull our attention away from where God wants us to focus and toward the patterns of this world. That's why Paul made a point to tell Timothy to turn away from the things that easily pulled him toward the negative. And that's exactly what we all need to do. You hear that? That's what we gotta do. Instead of just focusing on what's not fair about the way we're being underestimated, there it is, we can simply choose to focus on ourselves. We can do us. We can choose to be different. That's a big statement. We can choose to not underestimate our actions, but instead believe that they have weight and meaning. Now, that's a big ask of a young person, but I think Paul had the same philosophy on teenagers that I do. I believe this. I believe that you are more capable than what people say. I believe that you can do so much more than people think. I believe that you can use your actions in a way that reflects the maturity and intelligence and character God has given you right now. I believe you can do it. Now, if that sounds hard to do, remember the verse that we looked at last week. It's what Paul reminded Timothy about being young, and it's the same truth I think we need to remember as well. Let's do it together. No, actually, all of us together. Let's read it across the entire room. And I know it's okay. I can't actually hear you. I can't actually hear you. Or can I? Here we go. Don't let anyone look down on you because you are young, but set an example for the believers in speech, in conduct, in love, in faith, and in purity. We did it. We did it. Did you hear that? Woo! Paul reminded Timothy not to let anyone look down on him because of his age. Hear that? And more than that, he encouraged him to be an example to everyone, even to those older than him, in the way he talked, behaved, loved others, loved Jesus, and lived a pure life. Essentially, Paul encouraged Timothy not to underestimate his actions. And it's the same thing we need to remember too. No matter how underestimated you might feel as a middle schooler, this verse from Paul reminds us of what's true. We may not be able to choose what others think about us, but we can choose not to give it power. We can choose to focus on our own actions and use them to set an example for others. Here's the bottom line. Remember this one. If you forget everything else, never underestimate your actions. Can you imagine what might happen if you as a middle schooler started living in a way that sets an example for everyone, even adults? What if you chose to start speaking with respect to your teachers, or staying after practice to help your coach clean up, or helping your parents around the house without them having to ask, or had patience with your brother or your sister, or didn't participate in gossip, or simply offered a kind smile or a polite attitude to those who encountered you every single day? Sure, it might not change everyone's minds about middle schoolers overnight, but you know what? That doesn't matter. Not underestimating your actions isn't about other people. It's about who? You. It's about you. And if you want to use your actions to set an example, you need to be the first to be honest about how you may have acted in the past, so you can change that behavior in the future. Instead of making excuses or blaming others, own your actions and work toward being an example to everyone around you. I got some steps for you. I'm out of your way. Here we go. Step one. Number one, I'm out of your way. Number one, think about your past actions. Think about this last week. Ask yourself these questions to start, all right? As you think about your past actions, these are the questions I want you to think about. Here's the one. Have you been disrespectful to an adult in your life? Was there a situation where you were selfish and didn't care about how you affected others around you? Does lazy describe your attitude towards homework, chores at home, or practice? What actions aren't setting the right example to others? Now that you've thought about these questions, identify an action that you know isn't honoring God or helping your reputation. Ask God to forgive you and help you change that behavior going forward. Number two, I told you I had a couple steps and I'm out your way. Number two, I'm out your way. Then, don't underestimate your future actions. You can choose how you act toward and respond to others. And you can act and respond in a way that shows your actions have meaning. Create an action plan for the next time someone gossips about you, underestimates you, or leaves you out. It could be as simple as stopping to take a breath before responding, like, or choosing to walk away instead of getting involved, or praying for God's patience to help you. Think about the way your responses or actions are setting an example for others about what you believe and who you say you are. Then Own your actions by taking steps to change them going forward. Listen, I know this may sound hard for some of you. I know owning your past and trying to own your choices going forward may not be easy. It can be especially difficult when you know it still may not change the way other people underestimate you. But remember this: the adults in this room believe you are capable of so much more than you get credit for. So don't underestimate your actions, and instead become a great example of a life well lived. So as you head out today, think about this: are any of my actions not setting the best example for others? I'm out. I'm out of your way.